working. Okay, so anyways, kids, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go over the basic wheels and wheel setups that we're going to use when we build with Legos. Again, like I said, that this is probably nothing new to a lot of you who are accomplished Lego builders, but it is some basics and there are some subtleties that I want to go over with you that will kind of help you in your labs and your STEM activities, okay? Now, one of the things that I want to point out to you is that a wheel, when we talk about a wheel, we're talking about a combination of two things. We're talking about a hub, a tire, and how they are put together so that they make a wheel. Okay, so the wheels that we're going to be using this large wheel, which is made up of this size hub, this size tire, and they come together to make this wheel. Okay. This same type of hub is going to be used for this smaller wheel. This is about the smallest wheel that we're going to use. And so the same hub fits in the smaller tire to create the small wheel. Then we have kind of like a medium wheel, and this one is kind of neat because it is actually set up and it's made by using what is often used also as a pulley. So any of these hubs could be used as a pulley, meaning we could use them to guide rope and make lifting objects easier. But this one in particular is often used as a pulley because it's got this nice groove here and it fits real well with the Lego strings. But this hub right here fits into this tire right there. Okay, and it is a nice round tire and it would just pop on like so, like that, okay? And then it would pop off. And usually, when we use pulleys, it's going to be this hub right here that we will use. When you work with these tires, I'm very seldom going to ask you to take the tire off the hub. It's very difficult to get them on and off. And so for these ones, we'll usually pick up the whole unit. When I say you work with a large wheel, you already have the hub inside the tire ready to go. Okay. Another thing to point out is that on this wheel, this larger wheel here, the inside or the side that goes to the vehicle has this kind of like these, I don't know if you can see them, these openings, I'll show them up here. Okay. Whereas the face would be this point right here because it kind of concaves in. Okay, so the concave side will usually face out where the side with these little divides will face in, okay, the back and the front and the back. This one, it's front and the back. It doesn't have any front and back because it's the same on both sides. This one also doesn't have a front and back. But then we go on to another set of tires or wheels that we work with. And these wheels come with what I like to call an axle plate. A 2x4 axle plate, 2x4 axle plate. And you'll notice that the axle is on each side of the plate, and these will snap right in there like so. When you get this set of wheels, you will, if I tell you to use this set of wheels, I'll probably say the small set of wheels that come with the axle plate, or small wheels with axle plate. That's what we mean. We don't want to take these off. We want to leave those on so you'll get the whole unit like that. Occasionally we might want to take that off, but for the most part we're going to leave it on like that. We're going to leave it on the axle plate. Again, this is the hub that would go with the tire. This is kind of neat because this is a really good pulley also, and it gives you different places to put rope, or I should say string through, okay? If we were going to make zip lines or something, that's probably what we would use, okay? So in review, we have the large wheel, we have a medium wheel, we have a small wheel, and then we have the wheels that go with the axle plate. Wheels are made up of a hub and a tire, and they go together to form one unit called a wheel. Over here we have a special tire, and I don't even know if I would call this a wheel. It's kind of a combination wheel, tire, hub. It's just big and plastic. We don't have anything that goes around this that I know of. But what's neat is you can put axles inside here, and you can get kind of a a neat movement going on there. But this is a large plastic wheel is probably what I'd call it. And then you get this thing. This is a flywheel, okay? And this flywheel is neat because it can be treated as a pulley, or you can take one of the Lego rubber bands and you can use a rubber band as a tire by stretching it around like that, okay? And it gives you a rubber surface that will act to create friction, which is kind of neat, so it will be a tire. But this is a flywheel, and you can put rubber bands on it and make it into a regular wheel, but then you got to get those pesky rubber bands off of there, and you can see how I'm struggling to, there we go, roll it off there, okay? So flywheel, okay, and rubber band go together to make a wheel. Then we have our different technique axles, okay? And these axles can be measured in two different ways, okay? They can be measured in centimeters, or they can be measured using a technique brick, okay? And so if we measure them in centimeters, okay, we would measure to the nearest tenth of a centimeter, okay? So if I do that, I'm gonna bring it on up there, okay? And you can see where this would measure out at 9 and almost 5/10 of a centimeter. And actually, I'm going to move that up a little bit to be very precise. And so you can see, I'm going to move it down even more. You can see where it has 9 and the 5/10 of a centimeter. So it's 9.5 centimeters. Now, if we measured it on if we measured it using the technique brick, we would count it by holes. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it would be a number 11 axle based on the fact that it is 11 holes long. Now notice that when I do this, notice that I am flush to the end here when I measure, and so it would go right up to this point right here. So it's as long as that technique brick. But watch what happens when I measure the next size down, okay? When I measure the next size down, if I slide it so that it's even to the edge of the brick, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and a half. So what I would call this axle is a number 9 axle because it occupies or measures 9 full holes or 9 full circles, okay? If we measured it using centimeters to the nearest tenth of a centimeter, this would come out at 7, and it looks like approximately 7 8/10 of a centimeter, okay? So either way, usually when I refer to these, I will refer to them as the number of holes long they are in terms of a technique brick. So this one right here would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would be a number 5 axle, okay? And that's how we would measure it, okay? Now, since we're talking about axles, what we need to, let me shrink this down again, okay? Let me shrink this down. Since we've discussed axles, one of the things that we want to emphasize is that in order to make these wheels work, they require an axle. When we put the axle in there, we put it in just like that, okay? Not a big mystery, and you can slide it any distance you want, okay? When you're using this axle, you would put it in between, you could put it in a technique brick like that or a technique plate, anything that has holes in it. But remember, we want our axles to keep from sliding, so then we're going to talk about these new parts right there. And let me adjust the camera for you, okay? These little parts right here are called bushes, okay? This is a bush or bushing, okay? And so this one right here would just be a regular, this one right here would be a regular technique bush, okay? If I tell you to get 2 of them, I would say get 2 bushings, full, 2 regular technique bushings, or I might tell you to get these smaller ones, which when you look at them, Okay, let's see if I can get these side by side here. Okay, this one is about half the thickness of that one, so this would be a half bush, okay? Or I would say get 2 half bushings. Now this little piece right here, it kind of is a combination of a bushing set at a 90-degree angle with another bushing, okay? So I would probably call, I didn't even find a name for this one, but this is a bushing, and I would say 90-degree bushing, okay? Or a bushing with a 90-degree bushing, something like that, or just thingy. Okay, so bushings are important because we don't want our wheels. Let me shrink that back down again. I know this is tough. I'm not much of a filmmaker, but I will keep pursuing it. Okay, so anyways, bushings are used to hold axles in place to keep the wheels from wiggling in and out like that. Okay, so if you have it loose, the wheel's going to do this. It's going to cause more friction. It's going to slow things down. So the bushing keeps it secure. Bushings can also be used for a number of other things, such as creating a hinge position for 2 pieces. Okay, such as that. Okay, so we could use bushings to create a hinging effect, okay, and they are used for spacers. I might refer to bushings as spacers also. Okay, so anyways, oh, one other thing. I'm going to go back to the wheels, okay? One thing that we want to think about when we talk about wheels, okay, and we work with wheels, wheels are circles, okay? And so when we use all these parts together, we're going to be working with circles. So I will use terms like diameter, the distance across the circle. And you can measure the diameter of these wheels by putting your ruler on there. And I'm going to take that up there. And you can see that this large wheel, when you measure its diameter, you want to make sure that you go directly across the center point there. Okay, from side to side, and you want to make sure that when you put your ruler on there, you start on 0. Okay, now this would measure a diameter of 4 5/10. So half of that would be the radius, which would be 2 25/100. So you're getting pretty exact when you're talking about stuff like that. Okay, but I guess the point is this. When we are working with wheels, we are working with circles. So we will use vocabulary such as diameter, the distance across the circle at its center point, radius, half the distance of the circle from the center point to the edge. We will talk about the circumference, okay, of the circle, which is the distance around the circle. And then we will interchange circumference, and when we talk about its movement, we will talk about rotation and revolution. A revolution would be 1 full turn of your circle, okay? And as always, we're going to measure our circles in centimeters to the nearest tenth, okay? So, in closing, let me see if I can make this all nice and neat again. In closing, we have tires, okay, and hubs that go together to make wheels. We have large, we have medium, we have small, and then we have tires that go on the axle plate. I don't know what we're going to call those. I'll make up a name. We have the large plastic wheel, which is just plastic. And then we have the flywheel, which can be made into an actual wheel using a rubber band. We have axles, which are going to be measured by using the technique brick, and we will name them, identify them by the number of holes they have, such as a number 5 or number 3. And then we have bushings, which are used to go on the axles to help keep the axles spaced appropriately and keep wheels from sliding, and they can also be used to secure things. All right, so that is that. You'll take the quiz and see if you move on to building your next project. Good luck, kids.